fan at the minute, Rupert. Just how good is it? Like, looking at the current squad that you've got, what is it about these guys that's making it tick?
When you think, thank God the Steven Gerrard era ended, and we then get Unai Emery, as Gabby said in the first part of the programme, suddenly they went almost behind Gerrard's back, I think, and even Christian Perslow's back, and just went and got their man. To think where we are now, you actually go, this is ridiculous. And then when you suddenly see Rashford and Asensio coming in the window, and then when first time Asensio walked onto the pitch, and then he does that back hill, which was right in front of me of where I sit in the lower Trinity, and all of us around there just went, what's just happened? This is just surreal, because after dear Gabby saw the bad years when things went horribly, as you always do, love the Remy Gardiers, don't you? They were
great manager.
Oh, great manager. Really got you on side. But and then you think we've come struggling through the Championship. Then Dean Smith was wonderful for us, but he took us as far. Never forget what Dean Smith did, and how the heck we got John McGinn when we were where we were. That was Steve Bruce on Steve Bruce's watch. So you suddenly think, and he went with the cabbage incident, and so it was rather ignominiously. But Dean Smith did a great job for us. Then Steven Gerrard, I think they got a bit hooded because of the Christian Perslow connection through Liverpool, but that didn't work out. And then suddenly Unai Emery. And we're all just going, and I think everyone here will be experiencing exactly the same. Okay, it's not perfect all the time, but my goodness me, more often than not, we're walking out of Villa Park with a smile on our face, which we probably, many of us, will certainly, some of you here will have been doing it for much longer than I have, but it's been an absolute joy to be part of this wonderful ride.
These Champions League nights, I don't know if anybody has been lucky enough to be in the ground on these nights, yes? Yeah. Do they feel different? Yeah?
More expensive.
Yeah. I will give you that, but I will give you that. But they are spectacular. The firework displays, the music that goes with Villa Park, and for me personally, I think Villa Park's one of the most. It's my favourite football ground, actually. I think to work at. Something about the ground itself. Gabby, as a player, do you feel that when you're playing? Do you feel the crowd?
Oh, 100%, and especially big games. I remember playing in a big game against Blackburn. I think it was the semi-final, second leg, and the atmosphere. Blackburn Rovers, but it was like a semi-final, and if you won that game, you're going to Wembley, so the fans knew what it meant. And when you're at the Champions League games now as a fan, and you just hear that Champions League music at the start, and right at the end, it's the champions, and the whole of the stadium sing it.
Sing the whole
Gives
thing
you
for us, Gabby.
goosebumps. I didn't play in it, I don't know the words. But the fans love it, and that's what fans are paying their hard-earned money to go and watch, and they're being entertained as well in them games.
Do you think it's harder now to define who on earth the big six are?
I think it's very hard, especially the way Brighton, Bournemouth, Fulham are doing as well.
So there isn't a six?
No. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Nowadays it's like 9, 10, easy.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Yeah, you can't... Because they like that big six, and they like it to be Man United, Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool, Spurs. But now it's all changed. Look where Spurs and Manchester United are in the league.
I think you can have all the money in the world, it comes down to one thing, management. If you think, in the old days, there was not all the money sloshing around, which now goes to the top 4, supposedly. If you're well managed, you have a chance, and that's what Emery's done, getting us going, and with some of the other clubs. Brian Clough back in the day, getting his team up from the then First Division into the Championship into the First Division, and winning it was extraordinary. Man management, and I think that's the key now. You can have all the money, but you've got to actually manage the players.
It makes you wonder why it didn't quite work at Arsenal or any of the other sort of richer clubs that he's been at, or the more famously, more. I want to say big. I'm going to say bigger clubs that he's been at. I know there's no bigger club. I wonder why it didn't.
Just say, know your audience.
Yeah. I know. I wonder why it didn't quite work for him. Maybe he didn't get the backing.
Didn't get the backing maybe of the owners. Like I said earlier, players have come to Aston Villa and produced and having at other clubs. It's a loving club, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mr. Baker.
Well,
Post Wenger,
beautiful club.
It's like taking over from Sir Alex Ferguson. You take over from Wenger, and the fans were impatient, but thankfully they were impatient. And he's gone away, done what he's needed to do, and I hope he's found his happy place.
I feel like he knows what he's doing. I have a theory about a lot of managers. They're either making it up like racing tipsters, or they, or they know what they're doing, and I feel like he knows what he's doing.
So did he know what he was doing, John Duran? We talk about
Maybe,
the strikers at Aston Villa.
Maybe. I think that's a great move for Villa. That they've got a bunch of money for him and a player that wasn't motivated to play for Aston Villa. So if you don't want to play for the club, then don't play for him.
Villa's really good at recruiting. That's why they're doing really well. Their recruiting is
The recruitment's good. Okay, sure.
very good.
I agree with that. Bringing it back to my strikers question, though. See where I was going with this. Apart from your good self, Gabby, because you can say yourself if you're more than welcome to, but I know you're a humble man.
Not me, no.
Aston Villa strikers, kind of over the years, who for you has sort of been some of the greats?
I think before, like, when I started watching Villa, rest in peace to Gary Shaw. He was a legend of the club and an outstanding striker. You had like Brian Little, scored many goals as well. Andy Gray, John Carew, Christian Benteke. Do you know what I mean? But you go to now, Ollie Watkins, I think is fantastic. And due to how good he is why the club let Duran go. Because he's consistent every season. He's getting double figures of goals. So we've had some really good strikers across the years.
You mentioned Carew there. You
Yes.
told me a story upstairs that I feel like you should...
Well,
The ones that you are allowed to share.
I've never seen someone who signed for Villa, but then a year later moves to London to live. Like, that's John Carew. Moved to Battersea when he signed for Villa to live because he loved London so much. But I think there was a time when he was out for a couple of months with a back injury. And I think he got a call going out to a certain club in the town centre now. So people might know what that club is on Broad Street. And he wasn't happy. Sometimes, yeah. But the gaffer wasn't happy with him because he didn't come to the game, I don't think, because he was injured, didn't come to the game on the weekend. And in the changing room, John Carew walks through, happy as day, didn't care at all at that moment. And Martin O'Neill was like, John, you didn't come to the game. And he's like, just ignored him, carry on walking out. And the gaffer goes to slam the changing room door at John. But it's one of them doors that you slam and stops and it closes gently. And we were just all like, thank God for that. John Carew, 6'6", like strongest man in the Premier League. So I think Martin O'Neill was happy that the door sort of closed softly.
Well,
him and John were like happy one day and then at each other's throats. But what a great striker. I think he was one of the fans' favourites for sure.
We're having a great time, so I don't want to upset the apple cart here, but Jack Grealish. Yeah, you see, do we? Yeah. So here's a question, would you have him back?
No, it's time's gone.
Gabby, for you?
I would have him back because I still think he's got a lot to give. Outstanding player. I think the gaffer would get the best out of him as well. Maybe give him more freedom than he's had at Manchester City. So I think, and he loves Villa. I speak to him quite a bit still, and like he loves the club. And once you're a Villa fan, you can't change. He was born an Aston Villa fan, done amazing for the club, helping him get promoted and staying in the league as well. So I'm sure a lot of Villa fans will have different opinions, but he did bring £100 million into the club as well before he left. Yeah.